Hi, welcome to TrainSignal. My name's Bill and I'm here today to show you SharePoint 2013. So let's go ahead and let's take a first look at team sites. Well, here it is, gang. SharePoint 2013 is a brand new team site fresh out of the box. I've done nothing to this site. Absolutely nothing other than give it a name. It's our Global Mantics HR site. And you see the little I over here? That's for information. I also gave it a little bit of a description. But this is it. This is what it looks like. The first thing you notice, of course, is it is in the Metro style. And if you're familiar with Windows 8, that's also in Metro style. Server 2012, it looks like we're going to be in Metro style for a while. It is the new thing. And quite honestly, I was resistant at first, but I do like it now. I have embraced it, and I'm enjoying it. It's a nice, clean look, and let's go ahead and let's start examining some of these things. And you'll notice we move when we hover it over it. We get the little pop, share your site, bring the right people together. This is going to deal with our site permissions, and they've changed those a little bit, and it's going to be, I think, a little less confusing, a little easier for you. We also have this, which is where we can go ahead and add things like tasks and the calendar and a timeline, a new feature. And right here, we're adding apps. Now, the apps are what we would know from older versions of SharePoint as lists, libraries, things like that. But we can go ahead and click on this. In fact, why don't we do it just quickly, and you'll see these are our apps, and there's probably stuff in there you recognize. We can add custom lists, tasks, libraries, different types of libraries, announcements, contacts, calendars. All of these things are now apps. And we can also go ahead, what's your style? Change the look, templates, a lot more new features in here. And then lastly, we're going to look at your site, your brand. This is very simple, easy way to go ahead and add our brand, our logo, and that's this. This is the default here. This is Global Mantics HR. This is the default image that comes out of the box with SharePoint with a brand new team site. Now there's a lot of things in here that probably look familiar to you from SharePoint 2010. Over here, our quick launch on the left, we still have home, our documents, site contents, all the same kinds of things we're used to. There is a new feature in here, news feed. We also see up here on our SharePoint navigation up at the top, we see that we have a news feed here. A couple of new things there for us to look at. You'll also see SkyDrive. And SkyDrive, if you are using this and you have a SkyDrive Pro account, that is going to be a really neat feature for syncing your SharePoint documents to your computers, other places, other locations, and of course sites to take you to the My Sites. We see here I'm signed in, and one of the things I want to show you in here is it gives me some information about me and also the ability to sign out. But if you remember, we in 2010 also had the ability to log in as a different user. We don't have that anymore, and that's, I don't know, maybe, I don't know how you feel about it. Maybe you think it's a good thing, maybe it's not a bad thing. In general, for most people, it's probably not a big deal. For those of us who train and are using virtual machines and we want to switch back and forth between different identities, it's a little bit of a hassle. But, you know, for the most part, I don't think it's a big deal. At least that's my opinion, anyhow. All right. Now, just as an aside here, over here you see we have these two little buttons. That's just because I've got more space here than I'm seeing on my browser to use. And that's because I'm recording. We're running at a little bit of a lower resolution than you're probably used to using. But again, it's nothing, it's not really a new feature. There's nothing special about it. It just slides things over. But in sort of that same vein, we have this little button up here. And notice when I hover over it, it says focus on content. Watch what happens when I do this. When I click on that, look at that. My quick launch and my top navigation up here go away. It just toggles those on and off for me. And I like this. This is great if you have a lot of content and you need to see it, and you know, then you won't have to deal with this kind of, or you know, sliding your scroll bars left and right or up and down. Again, a nice, clean, quick, easy way to do those. Rather than, remember before you had, if you wanted to hide that quick launch, you had to go into your site settings and but that's a really nice feature that I like. Now, some other things in here that we can see. Share, again, this goes back to giving us the ability to give other people access to the site. That's our site permissions. And I'm signed in here as the top level administrator, the owner of this site. So I'm going to have all of those features. Follow, this is part of some of the new social media features that are in SharePoint. Sync, again, this ties in with our SkyDrive Pro. And the SkyDrive Pro, we have this here and it works, is because on this computer, and let me minimize this for a second here, we are running Windows 8. And not only do I have Windows 8, but I also have the preview version of Office 2013. And we will get a lot of cool new features in our SharePoint because of that. And we have this button here which says Edit. Now, this opens the page for editing. Let's go up here to the Page button and look familiar? Of course. It's the same, almost exactly the same ribbon that we've had in the past with 2010. And we have the ability to work on our site and add things. We can insert things, format sections, all kinds of really neat tools that aren't any different than what we've had before. The ribbon looks a little bit more like the ribbon in Office 2007 and 2010 than we had before, but again, a lot of the same tools that we're used to seeing. Now, I want to take a quick moment and point this out. We still have web parts, but we also now have app parts. And that goes back to the whole new app section. And we can go ahead and save and close. We didn't make any changes, so it wasn't really saving anything. But now, over here on our quick launch, we still have our site contents button. And it shows me what comes with the site right now. Remember, I haven't done anything to this site. I have not added a single thing. This is the way it comes right out of the box. And it has the microfeed, which is another of these really cool social features that SharePoint 2013 has. We also have our site pages, documents, and assets here. So the site contents hasn't changed. Now, let's go back to our home here. And do you notice anything missing? Where are my site actions, right? What happened to my site actions? Well, they're still there, but now it's up here under settings. Let's click that little gear and see that? There's my site actions. Edit page, new page, add an app, which again is the same as we saw going to here, or if I went here and added an app, view my site contents, which is of course the same as here. And this is where we can go still and get to site settings. And our site settings look almost identical, don't they? They haven't really changed a ton. Now I'll give you a little clue here. Although I haven't done anything to this site, this is actually a sub-site of a different site. And that's why I'm getting down here in a site collection administration the option to go to the top level site settings, because I'm not on my top level site. But I click there and now I am, and you see I have all of my site settings just the way I would. Now, of course, there are a few new features in here, but let's go ahead now and let's get back to home. And notice here something a little bit different. This is not where we just were. We are now on that top level site, and it is our GlobalMantics main site, and the GlobalMantics HR was that sub-site. So let's go ahead, let's get back to the GlobalMantics HR. We'll come back to GlobalMantics in just a few minutes. All right, I want to show you one more thing here. Let's go back to our site settings. There's something missing, isn't there? Where is my Create Site option? It's not here anymore. They took that out. And again, it depends on how you use SharePoint and what you're doing with it and what your users are doing with it. And personally, I can understand why they did it, because a lot of people were creating sub-sites needlessly, and before you know it, you could have all kinds of subsites on subsites and your site collections can get out of hand. So they haven't hidden it, but they've made it a little bit. You have to work a little bit more to get to it. If you go back here to site contents, or actually I could do it here, same thing either way. Now my new subsite is down here, and it gives me the option to create a new subsite, which again, this process is pretty much identical to what we had in the past. There's also in here the Getting Started button, which pretty much gives us that same option that we had when we were at the home page for our site. All right, another thing that's really kind of cool and I like that they've done here is, and it's really simple, sometimes easy, simple little things really make my day, but remember, this is not our top level site. This is a subsite of our GlobalMantic's main site. And we were already there. We took a look at it quickly, but there's no way to get to it. We don't have a link anywhere. But look up here on my quick launch. I have an Edit Links button. And up here at my top navigation, I also have another Edit Links. This makes it easy for me to add links to either of these places. Remember, in SharePoint 2010, I would have had to go into the site settings, go to that top and navigation section and type out those URLs, and it was, it wasn't hard. Let's be honest, it wasn't a big deal, but this makes it a whole lot easier. I'm going to simply click there, click on Add a Link. Look at this, text to display. I'm simply going to put in GlobalMantic's home, and I already have the URL in my clipboard. Click OK. And now we need to save. I can click on that GlobalMantic's home, and look at that. It takes me right there. And I could have done the same thing over here on my quick launch. And we also see we have the delete buttons here if I want to get rid of one. It's so simple now. Remember how much, like I said, it wasn't a big problem before. It wasn't a real nightmare, but I like it. They really made it a lot easier to do some of these things. So let's go back to our top site, and you'll see now that I have created a couple of document libraries, and they look pretty much the same as we've always seen. I have an image library. And there we have our first quick look at a SharePoint 2013 team site. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.